Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radha Jaya Gauran Nitai Sisi Gauran Nitai Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Palat Nishimha Jaya Palat Nishimha Jaya Palat Nishimha Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva Jagatnita Jaya Baladeva Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Pada Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Nitya Lila Pravista Om Vishnu Pad Pramam Sapari Bhaktaracharya Astotas Tatas Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Pramam Sapari Bhaktaracharya Astotas Tatas Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Radhas Thakur Ki Jai. Iskcon founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. प्रेम से खो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपन गोपन श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। उज्जैन धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। बृहद मृदंग की जय। सामा वेद भक्त वृंद की जय। Gora Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All losses some devotees. Hare Krishna. All losses some devotees. Hare Krishna. All glorious to Guru and Gauranga. All glorious to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. So today we are very, very fortunate to have with us His Grace Sanak Sanatan Prabhu. His Grace Sanak Sanatan Prabhu is a very senior devotee in Iskcon. He joined in 1988 in Germany. He's from Germany, and he served for next 10 years in Padayatra. He is a disciple of His Holiness Lokanath Swami Guru Maharaj. And after that, he shifted to India, and since last 18 years, he is serving in as the manager at Bhakti Vedant Gaushala in Vrindavan Dham. He is staying in Vrindavan Dham and very, very actively engaged in cow protection with organic farming. Also, Prabhuji is earlier he was vice president, and currently they have formed a Vrindavan Management Committee. So among 6 members, Prabhuji is one active member in that. And out of his busy schedule, he has kindly come here to guide us in spiritual life as well as in cow protection and Gaushala maintenance. So we are very, very grateful to Prabhuji for taking out his time and coming here. Let us express our gratitude and welcome him by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. His Grace Sanak Sanatan Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai. Hare Krishna. So, thank you for. I came in contact in 88. I joined in Vrindavan. Then I done 10 years Padayatra. I was 5 years in Pandharpur, and now I'm back in Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Canto 9, Liberation, at chapter number 4, Ambarish Maharaj offended by Durvasa Muni, and today's text is 64, yeah? The note said that today is, anyhow, okay, let's go one ahead. I haven't prepared for that one, but it is all. Ye daraga putrarapa Pananam vitan iman param Itvamam saranam yatta Katham tam satyaktum usate ye daragara putrapa prananam vittam imam param hitvamam saranam yatra katham tam stakatum ustai ye daragara putrapa haranam vittam imam param hitvamam saranam yata katham tam stakatum usate Adadada putrapa Param param Ramam saranam yata katham tam swapam utsate. Ladies, Nidaragara putrampa Prananam param Hitvamam saranam yata katham tam statum utsate. Word for word. Ye, those devotee of mine who Dara, wife, Angara, house, Putra, children, sons, Apta, relative society, Ranan, even life, Vitam, wealth, Imam, all these, Param, elevation to the heavenly planets or becoming one by merging into Brahman, Hitva, giving up all these ambitions and paraphernalia, Mam, unto me, Saranam, shelter, Yata, having taken, Katam, how, Tan, such persons, Taktum, to give them up, Utsate, I can be enthusiastic in this way if it's not possible. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Since pure devotees give up their homes, wives, children, relatives, riches, and even their lives simply to serve me, without any desire for material improvement in this life or the next, how can I give up such devotees at any time? Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by the words Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitayata. Thus, he is the well-wisher of the Brahmanas. Durvasa Muni was certainly a very great Brahmana, but because he was a non-devotee, he could not sacrifice everything in devotional service. Great mystic yogis are actually self-interested. The proof is that when Durvasa Muni created a demon to kill Maharaj Ambarish, the king stayed fixed in his place, praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and depending solely and wholly on him. Whereas when Durvasa Muni was chased by the Sudarshan Chakra by the supreme will of the Lord, he was so perturbed that he fled all over the world and tried to take shelter in every nook and corner of the universe. At last, in fear of his life, he approached Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was so interested in his own body that he wanted to kill the body of a Vaishnava. Therefore, he did not have a very good intelligence, and how can an unintelligent person be delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The Lord certainly tries to give protection to all his devotees who have given up everything for the sake of serving him. Another point in this verse is that all attachment to Dagara, Putrapa, home, wife, children, friendship, society, and love is not the way to achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to hearth and home for material pleasure cannot become a pure devotee. Sometimes a pure devotee may have a habit or attraction for wife, children, and home, but at the same time want to serve the Supreme Lord to the best of his ability. For such a devotee, the Lord makes a special arrangement to take away the objects of his false attachment and thus free him from attachments to wife, home, children, friends, and so on. This is a special mercy bestowed upon the devotee to bring him back home, back to Godhead. Okay, I had prepared for the other sloka, but some things maybe can apply it here also. First of all, I would thank Bhakti Charu Swami for having created this wonderful temple, and for all of you have maintaining it in such a wonderful way. Thank you for giving me a chance to sit on this Vyasasan. Hare Krishna. I came here very long back, not last Kumbh Mela, the Kumbh Mela before, and we were very alone in this big city. Somehow another 1-2 life members were there who helped us. And then in the last Kumbh Mela, the temple was here, and Maharaj basically started it out of nothing. There was nothing really here, and he created this huge temple and this big preaching. And we can see in today's verse it says that the Lord always takes care of his devotees. So recently, before I came here, I think the day before, when I just reached here, the email came and it says that finally the trouble with the land has been solved. Krishna has making the arrangement. I think some local, most probably Shiva Bhakta advocate had, I think just out of a habit or out of a hobby, made a case against us and was trying to steal the very essence of our service, our temple, and do not allow us to function in the property as we wanted to function. I remember when I was in Kumbh Mela, many devotees, Kumbh Mela bhaktas who would come to our place would say, "Oh, I remember your restaurant. You had a very beautiful restaurant." This is long back. And then I heard that the restaurant had been closed down because somebody complained that we're not doing what we're supposed to do within our temple. He felt having a restaurant is not what we're supposed to do here. So I hope now everything will be cleared and you can restart your famous restaurant and maybe Maharaja's Samadhi. I don't know what is the plan. Whatever is the plan can be done now. So, to the Bhagavatam, it is a very fascinating story. Ambarish Maharaj, he was a king of all the 7 islands. He was a king of the world. He was an emperor, not only the king. There may be many kings, but if somebody captures all the other kingdoms, he becomes the emperor. He's a leader of the world. So he was a very powerful person. And times were different. Today, there's hardly any king. I traveled some 2-3 years back before the Corona thing. I was in Thailand. We went to Cambodia. There's Angkor Wat. It is an empty shell. There's no more worship. But you could see the remnants of a very great culture, of a very great king who builds this huge temple for Lord Vishnu. And you see how intelligent the people were. Because there was no Ganga and there was no Yamuna. So just after the spring of that river, I forgot the name of the river, they carved pictures of Vishnu and Shiva lingas into the rock of the river. So the river would flow over the forms of Lord Vishnu and over the Shiva lingas, and so become holified or purified. And that river basically was a source of the whole civilization. This was feeding the whole town. And then coming back, we stopped in Thailand as a stopover, and I met some old friends who were preaching there. And there's still a king. There's a king. But besides that, there was a king in Nepal. He's no more. When we were traveling on Padayatra, sometimes we stay with a king. He has some old palace he can hardly maintain, and he's not an important person. But here, in those days, a normal king, what to speak about the emperor, was getting the proper respect from everyone. Wherever he would go, people would bow down, people would give gifts, people will offer respects and praise and whatnot all. So he had a very great position. But there's two famous slokas in this whole narration, and it says that he wasn't attached whatsoever. He was giving the fruits, which is obviously the fruit of his good fortune to become the king and to have all this opulence. He was giving all that to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is a very big thing. When you're kind of new in devotional service and somebody makes you a temple commander, you go ready, and hey, you don't know, it's me, I'm the temple commander, I'm the boss here, listen to me, look at me. Very quickly, we have a little bit that feeling that we're the lord and master of something, but he's a lord and master of the whole world, and he's very humble in his heart, and he's offering everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the famous sloka is there. He's engaging his hands in cleaning his temple, his legs to go to the temple. He uses his arms to embrace the devotees. He's fully engaged in the processes of devotional service. And it is very interesting that it says in one of the sloka that he was visiting the temples of Mathura and Vrindavan. So, me being from Vrindavan, we feel, hey, very good. He's a Dhamvasi. And later on, the Lord himself comes and gives his disc. So, since we're mostly worshipping Krishna, we have a Sudarshan with Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. But normally, we're not. With Padayatra, we were traveling in South India. And many times we stayed in the temples and we visited whatever the Divya Deshams and different temples. There's very famous, they have a deity called Chakra. It looks very mystic. It is octagram, and inside there's so many mystical signs. So they have a deity of the chakra. So here's a Lord given his chakra to Durvasa Muni. So it is a little different because we see in the story of Jaga and Madai, when they're injured, Nityananda, the Lord got angry and he was ready to pull out his chakra and shoot his chakra. But here the chakra had been given to Ambarish Maharaj, and it was there. So Durvasa Muni came, and you all have studied the story. The interesting thing is there that he went to the Yamuna. So he is elevated, he was going to the Yamuna, and he was meditating on the impersonal form. So he wasn't a devotee, and it says also here in today's purport, because he was not a devotee. He must have been a Brahmavadi like the four Kumaras, because he did have the potency to go to Vaikuntha and to meet the Lord. So he's not for free. I mean, he's a very powerful mystic. He immediately knew that he had drank the water. He didn't need any, had to tell him, hey, he drank the water. No, he immediately knew what was going on. So he wasn't a Mayavadi. Recently, first time I really understood that we are constantly reading and speaking about Mayavadis. But actually, if you tell a Mayavadi that he's a Mayavadi, that's actually an offense. Like in India, you have somebody who's transsexual or something, he's called a chakra. So if you say that word, he will feel offended. Whereas actually you only say what he is. So actually the Mayavadis, they don't want to be Mayavadis. They're Shankarites, or they don't even think they're impersonalists. They're thinking that they have the knowledge. So Durvasa Muni obviously wasn't that much of an offender. He was probably Brahmavadi, and there was no escape. Because the Lord didn't send the chakra. The Lord had given the chakra to Durvasa Muni. It's like if you have people have a dangerous dog. And the dog may be very peaceful. But if somebody beats the owner of the dog, he doesn't have to say anything. The dog immediately thinks, hey, what's going on? That's not going to happen in my watch. So immediately the chakra came active. And he had no escape than to return back to Durvasa Muni. So this is today's sloka. It is, even he was a Brahmana, he could not be spared. Because ultimately a Brahmana has to be a Vaishnava. In order to be a complete Brahmana, unless you worship Lord Vishnu. Today I went to the Mangalati, Mahakaleshwa, Bhashma Aarti. So it was very interesting. We have been on Padayatra for 10 years. So we have a hobby, some people collect different things. So as Padayatra devotees, we have developed, our hobby is to collect holy places. So when I come to Ujjain, I kind of have to go there. That is just because that is our habit. I visited all the 12. There was one last one left in Maharashtra, and before I went to Vrindavan, I took my wife and that time very small kid, and we went and visited the last one I hadn't visited. So, point is here that the people, they show devotion to Lord Shiva, and they may be also saying they're doing Shiva Bhakti, but there is no Shiva Bhakti. Bhakti or devotion itself, as we can see here in the sloka, the devotees take full shelter of the Lord without anything, any even slightest concept of getting something back. That is devotional service, and the worshipper at the demigods are already offensive in the first place if they're thinking that Lord Shiva is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're already making a mistake. Where we go there, we also offer our obeisances. Jai Sisi Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai, Sisi Gauri Tai ki Jai, Sisi Krishna Balaram ki Jai, Sisi Nishinga Dev ki Jai, Sisi Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai. So they have nothing in return. So we can see that Durvasa Muni had to be defeated. It's a simple thing because he had offended a devotee, and the Lord's chakra acted basically on his own accord in order to protect Ambarish Maharaj. And even the Lord couldn't help. So it says something in the earlier, the difference is there that when the demon was created, Maharaj Ambarish just stood there. Like Prahlad, they throw him from the mountain, they put him in a pit of snakes, tried to trample him with elephants, so many different things were tried on him. But he did not run away or fight back. He just remembered the Lord. And so the same thing here, Maharaj Ambarish, he was just standing and looking at this fearsome demon. And as he described, he was very, very fearsome. So, but here, Durvasa Muni, when he felt the heat of the chakra, it's written on his back, he was very, very, very fearful. He was trying, because he had not, it says in Bhagavad Gita, even a little bit advancement on this part of devotional service frees you from the worst fear. What is the worst fear? It's a fear of death. When we are attached to the body, we're thinking that the body is all and all, then it becomes very difficult. There is in the third canto, there's many descriptions, and there is a description of the person who is attached to this body. Whereas actually we are soul. And when we come to devotional service, one of the first lessons which convinces us philosophically is that the body and the soul is different. But we can see here Durvasa Muni, he was fearing for his body, whereas King Ambarish was not fearing for his body. And it's a very subtle thing. Even we as devotees say we are not the body, but every one of us knows when it's time, 9:30, 10 o'clock, we travel somewhere, we get hungry, then very quickly we forget that point. We could just think, let me chant some more Hare Krishna and be in ecstasy, and whenever food is coming, it is coming. It is not like that. And if somebody offends us, very easily we get angry. On Padayatra, I had a very interesting example. We were traveling somewhere in Andhra Pradesh, and we were staying in some small, not so nice village on the highway. And that was the only village in a long stretch of movement. So we walked all around India, and we came back to the same village maybe three and a half years later. We were very fast those days. And in that village there were many pigs. And one pig most probably got hit by the truck, and his back was broken. So he was crawling on two legs. And we come back after 3 years, and that same pig was still there doing that same activity. So that time I realized how strong is that attachment to this body. How miserable. No, all the pigs are running. He never gets food. He never gets I don't know if he was male or female. He never gets to enjoy. He's always behind. He's struggling like anything. But he's so much attached. He could have just laid down and stopped eating. No, he's so much attached. He's so much, this ahankara, so much makes us feeling that this is a body and this is my everything, that we're not giving up. You find people in the hospital, they're sick, they're suffering, they have pain, but still they're trying to extend their life for little more, and the relatives are ready to spend money like anything. One of my very dear friends recently, his name Rasa Bihari, he was working with me in the Goshala, he was my purchasing man. He left his body. And in the last stage, his relatives came and took him and put him in a hospital. He was 80 years old, and they were thinking now they make him new and fresh. luckily then we got the upper hand and put him in our hospice and he died peacefully. So this attachment to this body is very strong, and Ambarish was part of the liberated team. He was not attached to the body, and Durvasa Muni was having attachment to the body. So not so good. So the Lord cannot be alone. When we go to South India, we see they have big deities, and already on the deity itself, the associates of the Lord are already carved. It's never the Lord alone. It's the Lord with Sri Devi, Bhudevi. It's the Lord with Apsaras. It's the Lord with Chakra. It's the Lord with somebody else. So we can see there is the Mayavadis have a picture of the Lord. I think they call that Chakrapani or something. It's the Lord alone. He's walking over the globe. But that's not how it is. When the Lord is in Vrindavan, we can hear here, he has a very strong attachment to his devotees. He is having pastimes with his devotees, and in Vrindavan, he goes as far that he is actually submitting himself fully to his devotees. We can see there's a picture where Krishna brings the shoes of Nanda Maharaj. There's the famous pastime, Damodar Leela, where Yasoda Mataji is binding the Lord. And when the devotees are playing every day, when they're taking care of the calves and when they take care of the cows, they're playing and they get so much absorbed in their play that a demon has to come. And then Krishna will kill the demon. And after killing the demon, it's an everyday pastime. In Krishna book, we only hear about a few very popular demons. And then after the demon pastimes, because their play was interrupted, they realize, oh, we're very hungry. Let's take our food. So the demons are just coming to remind the devotees to take their lunch. And Krishna is fully absorbed in that pastime. He is not thinking anymore. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this way, Srila Prabhupada has started this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And he has done something amazing, something very wonderful by going to America and to start a society in the West. That was the very deepest desire of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj to bring this to the West. And even Bhaktivinoda Thakur had written literatures in English, and he had sent one book about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the West, because the idea was that in every town and village is not just a saying, it actually is a reality. And we can see we had been on Padayatra. That definitely was our slogan in every town and village, because we were really going from village to village. And I think we have about 6 Padayatras now in India. We have a new Padayatra in Bengal, we have in Orissa, we have in Maharashtra, we have in Gujarat, we have one in South India, we have one in UP. So many Padayatras are coming, and Srila Prabhupada had said millions of such cards. I mean, what a statement. So Srila Prabhupada, actually, the Lord wants all of us to come back to the spiritual world. There is this beautiful pastime is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam Rita, when Gopkumar finally, after having a same like Durvasa Muni went here and there, tried to get rid of the chakras. So Gopkumar traveled from one devotee to another to find out, and finally in the very end he's embracing Krishna in Vrindavan. So Krishna is waiting for each and every one. At some point, all the souls who are here in this material world, including myself, we have taken a wrong turn. I don't want to go in the big discussion where we came from, but at some point we had a choice. We want to be with Krishna or we want to try on our own. And basically the idea of trying to come to this material world, the idea of trying to be independent of the Lord, has a root cause in envy. And when we are starting our devotional service, we all have different capacities and different abilities. And even bad qualities like lust or anger can be engaged in devotional service. Arjuna is fighting for Krishna. He has to be angry. People get children for Krishna. They're somewhat inflicted by lust. But envy is such a quality which is a very deep-rooted enemy of devotional service. This is the one quality we have to be very careful when we are dealing with other devotees, that we're not becoming envious. There is a certain type, Srila Prabhupada, of spiritual envy is there maybe that when I'm seeing the gopi is seeing some other gopi serving Krishna very nicely, and they're thinking, hey, I also would like to serve so nicely like that. But the thought is never that I want to take that position and do that. It is always that somebody is doing something nicely, and I would also like to be. We are inspiring, we are not trying to pull down. So that is a very important. So Srila Prabhupada wanted that everyone can again go back home, back to Godhead. This very term he made, the magazine, back to Godhead. What a term, what is thinking, back to Godhead. So that's why we're sitting here. That's why we are taking the great pain of running a big temple. That's why we are producing paraphernalia. You're producing altars and Prabhupada murtis. We are engaging in what externally looks like a huge material operation to run these temples and to go to colleges and what not all, in order to preach the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is, we can see that Bhakti Siddhanta, he basically put Radha and Krishna and Mahaprabhu on the same altar to make everyone understand that Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna are one and the same. But then we see that Srila Prabhupada, he brought Nityananda. And with Nityananda, the Adi Guru, the Balaram, the new potency came and preaching became very successful. It is Gaunitai, it is Mahaprabhu's mission. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he again kind of lifted it out of a situation which was not so favorable, and then he prayed for Ray of Vishnu's, and Bhaktisiddhanta came and he started preaching like a wildfire, and then Srila Prabhupada continued and brought it to the West, and now we have also spread all around India. So there is a point here also for us Grihastas. First, the point is very strong against attachment to wife and children. But then it says for some people who are attached like me, as the Lord makes an arrangement that we can have a wife and children. And then Srila Prabhupada makes the last point of the purport. The special mercies bestowed up on them, and the Lord will all take it away. That is ultimately, if the Lord is favoring us, this is why many people in India, they fear to worship Krishna, because they know Krishna is a thief. He will take everything away. So same Srila Prabhupada, Krishna took everything away. His wife sold his Bhagavatam for tea biscuits. He couldn't take it. He said, tea or me. And the wife maybe was joking and said, tea, hey, tea it is. And he left. And then his guru came in his dream and told him to take sannyas. First he was thinking how horrible. But then he went to Vrindavan. He totally detached. He started printing. And somebody walked by and said, why are you doing magazines? Why are you not doing books? So he reflected and he came out with those books, these fantastic books, which are the law books for a long time to come, which are the platform of our devotional service. And then he traveled to the West. So we're very fortunate. And then Srila Prabhupada is called Prabhupada because many Prabhuds sat at his feet. So Bhakti Charu Swami is one of those very beloved and prominent disciples. And he has opened this branch. So we're very happy and we're very fortunate, very, very fortunate. It is actually almost, it is hard to understand how we gotten those fortune. When you go this morning, there were thousands of people who want to see Lord Shiva. They appear to be very pious, but they have no clue what's going on. Here, it's a very brutal statement here that therefore he did not have very good intelligence. And how can an unintelligent person be delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So, what is that intelligence? It's that subtle intelligence. It's a very subtle thing. It's very deep in the heart that we have to worship Krishna. We have to surrender, and we have to find a spiritual master. It is a lineup of so many fortunate circumstances. I was different as a child. I did remember my last life, and I could never speak to anyone about that because I'm in the West. If I would tell, I always have some vision of something which is very different. It was just very different to what was around me. And then one day I read a book, and there was some person who had put people in trance and brought a notary, and they would say, I'm from this place, I lived in France, and my house was green color, and my name was like that. And they followed up on that. And it all came out to be true. So it was the first time I realized I'm not crazy. And then due to some circumstances, I stopped smoking, I stopped drinking, I stopped meat eating, and I stopped become interested. I was knowing my last life, I was knowing that there must be a truth into this whole game. And then I went to the Jehovah, I went to the Buddhist, to the Christian. There is so many things out there. Like the people worship Lord Shiva. There's so many isms. There's so many dead end roads where you can get stuck. But somehow or another, I walked down the road in Berlin and somebody gave me a first canto Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm always obliged because that is what we're doing here. That's why we're running the temple. Somebody had printed this book. Somebody had transported that book. Somebody was running the temple so that this warrior could be standing out there trying to sell a kami a book. So we all are very, very fortunate that we have come to this position, and we have to very much value that. And at the same time, we have to be very careful we're not doing offenses like Durvasa Muni did the Maha offense. He wanted to kill a Vaishnava, but what stops our devotional service? Nothing can stop our devotional service. Only when we offend other devotees. But we have to, I'm sitting here, and you're sitting here, and he's sitting here. We're all sitting here because actually Krishna has chosen us. Everyone is very special. We have been chosen by the Lord to help in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's and Srila Prabhupada's mission. So we have to always very much respect the other devotees, and have to always remember that like how we got the fortune, they also got the fortune, and everyone is very special because just think, out of, I don't know how many people are there in Ujjain, couple of million, I don't know, it's a big town. So many people, out of all those people, somehow or another, we are chosen to sit here in this temple at this time. The others are not. Somehow or another we are sitting here. We are maybe thinking because we're great or this or that. It's just our good fortune that we're here right now in front of the deities, in front of Srila Prabhupada. So, and at the end, we have to detach like Ambarish Maharaj, and we have to be very careful that we're not showing any Durvasa Muni like symptoms to any other devotees. So, Hare Krishna. I will stop there. Thank you for giving me a chance. I haven't given a class for a while in Vrindavan. I'm a little bit shy. So if there's any questions or any comment, please go ahead. Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for this class and mentioning that nothing can stop our devotional service except when we commit offenses to the Vaishnavas. So during the course of our devotional life, although we try to be respectful to the devotees, but in different circumstances, in different issues, sometimes we have to be heavy, or sometimes we have to chastise sometimes to get the things done. So in such circumstances, sometimes we cross the limit, or we don't understand how much to say, and then did the person took offense. So in such situation, how should we deal this to avoid such offenses?
I'm by nature a very Rajasic person. In the horoscope, I have 3 rulers in the 10th house. I always end up managing something. And definitely there have been times where I was thinking I'm Krishna's gift to the temple. And I've offended many devotees. Surely, what you're just saying, because you're managing, you have to do something. And sometimes you just have to get everyone in the van to go to the Sankirtan, and the guy's spacing out, and you just have to grab him, push him maybe, and just even push him and close the door. You'd be doing something. As long as we're really not doing it to give anyone trouble, as long as we're really doing it as a service, I think the devotee and Krishna will forgive us. When I was charged of Padayatra, Padayatra is a very complicated program because we're moving every day. And everyone has a service. And if somebody is not doing his service, I was a leader at the end, who will do that service? The leader will end up doing that service. Because everyone is already doing a lot, everyone is walking, everyone is moving. So obviously sometimes I have been very pushy. Even to the point that some people left Padayatra because I was so pushy. Then some of those devotees I met 10 years later, and they're saying, actually, I'm so sorry that I've given you so much trouble. And actually Padayatra was the best time of my life. So even they realized the distress I was in and forgiven me. But that is not always the case. And right now I'm a little bit detaching from management. Ultimately, everything is happening by the mercy of the Lord. So even sometimes it looks like we have to really push somebody to get something done. Maybe it is just better and let Krishna take care. Because the material energy is doing what it is supposed to do. And when we sit back, it will still happen. If we, like you see, Ambarishi was not fearing. The demon came. We could have said, hey, he was an important person. He was a king of the whole world. He could have called his army, or he could have called Brahmanas to counter curse. He could have done so many things. But he said, hey, Krishna. Where's Dovasa Muni? He's also a big mystic yogi. But he ran. He took action. I don't want to compare you with that. I'm just saying that 2 different types of action. And it was made very clear here. Then the Lord steps in. I give you another example. There's one devotee from England. His name is Parshuram. And sometimes we do some boating we have a boat and we go down the river with Mahavishnu Swami from England with harmonium. So he will push the situation to the point where it becomes so uncomfortable or so dangerous that Krishna has to intervene. Because we have Mahavishnu Maharaj with us. We know nothing will happen. So we gone down some crazy rapids where nobody should go down in our homemade boat. But we did it and nothing happened. And one time we were leaving out of Calcutta, and it became dark. We were supposed to camp, but he said, no, let's go a little bit. Then we came in some Haber area. There was no more place for camping. It was dark. It was already 9 o'clock. Any minute the tide comes in, then we get flushed back in. We cannot go against it with our boat. So a Muslim chowkidar, it's pitch dark. The current went. It's pitch dark. A Muslim chowkidar went to relieve himself and wash himself after that in the river. And when he went back up, he lit a beedi and he lit a match. And we came to know that somebody is living there. We start say, hey, we need a place to stay in broken Hindi. So there was a temple upstairs. So he said, you come, and he accommodated us in the temple upstairs. I mean, Krishna is always taking care in the most crazy ways. So if the Sankirtan when has to go with Bhakta Burfi being half ready, he will go. And Bhakta Burfi somehow or other will enter the van also without me pushing him. You get my point. I don't think we should become lethargic and just sit down and chant. But ultimately, every one of us we are very valuable. We're very valuable. And if we do offenses, our value will go down. And the whole purpose is not only to bring people here. The purpose of the temple is also that we are becoming qualified to go back to Godhead. Ultimately, that Gop Kumar situation should be there, that Krishna is waiting for us. So if we do offenses, I can say I'm gone older now, and I've changed my stand. I would say rather avoid offenses at any cost. At any cost. Even sometimes something will not get done. Maybe that thing will not get done. But the devotee will not get offended. I'm not doing an offense. It's like an avalanche. You throw a small ball and a whole avalanche will break down. So because the new Bhakta will get offended, he goes back in the new Bhakta ashram. He said so and so offended me. He should have not done that. And then the others will start offending, and everyone will start saying something not good. Better. My changed self. I used to be very pushy. My changed self would say, not good actually. It appears that pushy is good, and I was always thinking pushy is good. I got so many things done in my devotional career, but now looking back, I wish many things I would have not done. Even other people thinking, yeah, he accomplished so much, but I definitely stepped on other people's heads and hearts, and I wish I would have not done that.
Thank you.
Okay? Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Iskcon Ujjain ki jai.
His Grace Sanak Sanatan Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Gaur Bhaktavind ki, Gaur Premanande.